Barry, a middle-aged mechanic with a penchant for greasy overalls and a perpetually confused expression, was having a rather ordinary Tuesday. He was underneath Mrs. Higgins' rusty Ford, attempting to coax life back into its sputtering engine. A sudden clang, a flash of light, and Barry found himself no longer beneath a car, but floating in the vast expanse of space. How he got there, he hadn't the foggiest. His wrench, his trusty companion, spun lazily nearby. Stars twinkled like spilled glitter on a velvet cloth. Barry, however, was less than impressed. He was more concerned with the distinct lack of oxygen and the rapidly increasing chill. Space, he decided, was not as advertised. Blimey, he muttered, Mrs. Higgins is never going to believe this. He fumbled for his toolbox, hoping against hope for a spare oxygen tank. No such luck. Instead, he found a half-eaten ham sandwich, a rather embarrassing collection of vintage car magazines, and a small fluffy kitten keychain. Well, that's just great, he sighed. At least I won't starve. He took a large bite of the sandwich. Barry's situation, already precarious, took a turn for the worse when a large, oddly shaped spaceship zoomed into view. It loomed over him, casting a long, ominous shadow. He braced himself for the worst, certain he was about to become an alien's afternoon snack. He closed his eyes and wished he'd finished that ham sandwich. The spaceship's hatch hissed open, and a figure emerged. It wasn't the grotesque, slimy monster Barry had anticipated. Instead, he saw a young woman with vibrant green skin, large, expressive purple eyes, and antennae that twitched curiously. She wore a shimmering silver suit and a look of mild surprise. "Greetings, Earth creature," she said, her voice a melodious chime. "My name is Zorpina. What are you doing, floating in the void?" Barry blinked, momentarily speechless. He'd always considered himself a bit of a ladies' man, but this was a new level of interspecies intrigue. Hello," he stammered. "Barry's the name. Just taking a spacewalk." Zorpina tilted her head, her antennae quivering. "A spacewalk without a suit? How peculiar. You humans are truly strange creatures." She extended a hand towards him, her expression softening. "Come, I shall take you aboard my ship. You look rather cold." Barry gratefully accepted her offer. As Barry floated into the spaceship, he marveled at the advanced technology surrounding him. Blinking lights, holographic displays, and strange, humming devices filled the room. It was a far cry from Mrs. Higgins's dusty garage. "Nice digs," he commented, trying to sound nonchalant. "So do you do this often, picking up stranded mechanics?" Zorpina explained that she was a scientist studying the strange and wonderful creatures of the universe. Barry, much to his surprise, became her latest research subject. She nursed him back to health, intrigued by his resilience and his surprisingly charming awkwardness. Barry, for his part, was captivated by her intelligence, her kindness, and the way her antennae wiggled when she laughed. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Barry learned about Zorpina's planet, her culture, and her fascination with Earth's peculiar customs. Zorpina, in turn, became accustomed to Barry's endless stories about faulty carburetors and the intricacies of lawnmower repair. They shared stories, laughter, and a growing affection that transcended their interspecies differences. One starlit evening, as they gazed at the swirling nebulae outside the spaceship window, Barry confessed his feelings. "Zorpina," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "I know this might sound daft, but I think I'm falling for you." Zorpina's purple eyes widened, and her antennae twitched excitedly. "Barry," she replied, her voice soft and tender, "I believe I am falling for you as well." And in the vast emptiness of space, an unlikely romance blossomed. It was a love story for the ages, a testament to the power of connection, even in the most extraordinary circumstances. Their love story culminated in the birth of a child, a miracle of interspecies biology. The baby, a curious blend of human and alien features, was named Kepler. He had his mother's green skin and antennae, but his father's unruly brown hair and fondness for tinkering. From the moment he was born, Kepler radiated an unusual energy, a cosmic aura that shimmered around him. Zorpina and Barry were overjoyed with their little bundle of cosmic joy. They doted on him, marveling at his rapid development and his insatiable curiosity. Kepler was a quick learner, absorbing information like a sponge. He could operate the spaceship's controls before he could even walk, and he spoke in complex sentences that baffled even his brilliant mother. But there was something else, something unsettling about Kepler's power. His touch caused objects to levitate, lights to flicker, and the spaceship systems to malfunction. Zorpina, with her scientific mind, suspected that Kepler's abilities were far beyond the scope of normal infant development. Barry, ever the pragmatist, was more concerned with keeping Kepler from dismantling the spaceship. "He's a bit of a handful, isn't he?" he'd mutter, as Kepler accidentally teleported the ship's toilet to the bridge. "Reminds me of my old mate, Dave, always breaking things, that one." Section 5. Unleashed Power, the baby's devastating abilities. As Kepler grew, so did his powers. What began as minor glitches escalated into displays of raw, untamed energy. One particularly eventful afternoon, while Kepler was playing with his building blocks, he accidentally created a small black hole that swallowed a nearby asteroid. Zorpina and Barry watched in horror as the asteroid vanished, leaving a gaping void in the fabric of space. "Kepler, dear," Zorpina said, her voice strained, "perhaps we should put the blocks away for now." Barry nodded in agreement, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. "Yes, son," he added. "Let's try something less destructive. How about a nice game of cards?" Kepler, oblivious to the gravity of the situation, simply giggled and continued playing. The incidents became more frequent and more alarming. A misplaced tantrum resulted in the implosion of a small moon. A fit of giggles caused a nearby star to go supernova. Zorpina and Barry found themselves constantly apologizing to the galactic community for their son's unintentional acts of cosmic vandalism. "It's just a phase," Barry insisted, trying to reassure himself as much as Zorpina. "He'll grow out of it, just like my nephew Kevin used to set fire to his trousers. Charming lad, really." Section 6. Planetary Playground, a trail of cosmic destruction. Kepler's powers continued to escalate, leaving a trail of cosmic destruction in their wake. Planets crumbled, stars exploded, and entire galaxies were rearranged according to Kepler's whims. Zorpina and Barry were at their wits' end. They loved their son dearly, but his power was becoming a serious threat to the universe. They tried everything to control Kepler's abilities. They built him a special playpen lined with energy-absorbing material. They hired the galaxy's best nannies, each with a PhD in astrophysics and a black belt in interdimensional karate. Nothing worked. Kepler's power was simply too immense. One day, while Kepler was having a particularly boisterous playtime, he accidentally ripped a hole in the space-time continuum. Zorpina and Barry watched in dismay as the universe began to unravel around them. "Right," Barry said, sighing, "this is getting a bit ridiculous." "Barry," Zorpina said, her voice trembling, "we have to do something. Kepler's power is too dangerous." Barry nodded grimly. "I know, love, I know." They knew they had to find a way to control Kepler's powers, not just for the sake of the universe, but for the sake of their son. Section 7. Parental Awakening, Confronting the Baby's Power. The escalating destruction caused by their child forced Zorpina and Barry to confront a terrifying truth. They had created something beyond their comprehension, a being capable of reshaping the very fabric of existence. The playful giggles and innocent gurgles now held a chilling undertone of unimaginable power. Their parental pride was overshadowed by a growing sense of dread. Barry, the ever-optimistic mechanic, finally ran out of reassuring platitudes. The comparison to his nephew Kevin setting trousers on fire no longer seemed adequate. This wasn't a childish phase. This was a cosmic crisis. He looked at Zorpina, her usually vibrant green skin now tinged with worry. "We've got to sort this out, Zorp," he said, his voice firm despite the tremor of fear within him. "For Kepler's sake and for everyone else's." Zorpina nodded, her antennae drooping slightly. She had dedicated her life to understanding the universe, but her own son presented a mystery far more complex than any she had encountered before. The weight of responsibility pressed down on them, heavier than any collapsing star. They were not just parents. They were the guardians of a force that could either create or destroy everything. The carefree days of cooing and cuddling were over. The time for action had arrived. Section 8. Seeking Solutions, a Desperate Quest for Control.